Hey everybody, Eric's back saying stuff about the 2011 WWE Royal Rumble pay-per-view. I went ahead and ordered the $45 pay-per-view this past Sunday and thought I'd share my thoughts on what I thought of the event. There was actually 4 matches on the card, the final of which being the actual Royal Rumble match. So there were 3 matches leading up, and everything got kicked off with Dolph Ziggler challenging for the World Heavyweight title against Edge. This was actually a very good match. It went a lot longer than I expected it to, too. You had the elements with Vicky Guerrero at ringside, acting general manager of SmackDown, so she was interfering, and the stipulation here was that Edge could not use the spear. So, throughout the match, the announcers debated whether or not Edge would be able to deploy the spear, whether or not he would just lose it, and if he deployed the spear, he would lose the World Heavyweight title. So, that was the key storyline to the match. But Edge started out a house of fire. I thought that was a really good way of booking the opening to the match. Edge pretty much dominated Ziggler throughout much of the first quarter to first third of the match. Dolph Ziggler then started getting in some offense, which was good. I think Dolph actually showed signs that he could possibly be a main event talent someday. Royal Rumble is always where they debut or try out main event talent that hasn't quite reached that plateau, but giving them basically a shot at World Championships at a pay-per-view where everybody knows the real match that counts is the Rumble match itself, so they can get away with it. Previous Royal Rumble Championship challengers include people like Hardcore Holly and people like Chris Benoit before he actually became championship caliber. He was a guy who also got a match at the Rumble for a championship before he had reached A-level status. So Dolph Ziggler joining that club and doing an admirable job. I thought Edge did a pretty good job of carrying the match because Ziggler, the audience doesn't really respond to him like they need if he's going to continue this push into the main event echelon of the SmackDown roster. So Edge did a pretty decent job of carrying Ziggler, keeping the audience enthralled in the match. Vicky Guerrero's interference, of course, was annoying but expected. I loved how explosive Dolph was in this match, too. He would get beat down for a bit and then just jump up and execute a couple of very impressive moves. I like that he executes a lot of moves that involve jumping and very unique offense. He hasn't, I don't think, quite defined his offensive style just yet, but he's got a lot of impressive elements to that. But Edge wound up winning the match. He was able to deploy the spear because the ref and Vicky Guerrero were both knocked out. And then he was also able to finish off the match using Christian's Unprettier to take Dolph Ziggler down for good. I thought that was awesome. But they also did a really good job of giving Dolph 3 or 4 shots where he came very close to winning this match, too. So they did a good job of telling the story there and basically giving the audience the element of doubt that Ziggler could actually win that match when all was said and done. But Edge walks away the winner. The other world title match on the card, the WWE title, was up for grabs between Randy Orton and champion The Miz. Typical Miz match here as outside interference and outside elements wound up being the difference. Randy Orton looked great in this match. Miz held his own, but I just have a hard time with Miz as champion because there's really nothing about him, aside from his character, there's nothing about him in the ring that stands out. He's a very basic wrestler. He's a good wrestler, but there's really not a whole lot to him in the ring. There's not a whole lot to his ring style. Sometimes he's aggressive. Sometimes he just comes off as small. He cheats, but you know it's to be expected anyway, and that plays more into his character than his ring style. Alex Riley, of course, was all over this one. Michael Cole was hilarious. I know he's incredibly annoying to everyone right now, but his man crush on The Miz is absolutely hilarious to listen to. I watched this pay-per-view with my dad, who hasn't watched wrestling in quite some time. He kind of left the wrestling scene, left watching wrestling back around WrestleMania 17, so he had kind of not watched a lot of wrestling since then. He was even enjoying Michael Cole's antics on the microphone, but also felt like The Miz kind of lacked something in the ring. I don't know, maybe I just can't get past the fact that I used to see this guy on Real World Road Rules Challenge, and I just can't seem to get over that. But whatever. The match was okay. Miz won by Poker Crook, of course, so Miz retaining was kind of a surprise. It kind of leads to the thought that maybe the Miz will wind up main eventing at WrestleMania, but something tells me he's probably going to drop the title before we get to Atlanta, Georgia. The third match was a women's match. Fatal 4-Way. It started out as a 2-on-1 handicap match set up by Teddy Long. Lay Cool versus Natalya, the champion, the Divas champion. But because Teddy Long was out, the Raw GM took over the booking for the match. He emailed the show and made it a Fatal 4-Way match by adding Eve to the match. This match actually went a little bit longer than I thought it would, and it was bearable. But it was mainly just spot fest. Two women would hit each other. One would roll out, the next would roll in. I don't know. The women in this match just don't do a good job of captivating the audience. The audience had no interest whatsoever in Natalya, which I thought was sad because she was probably the best wrestler in the ring. But Eve wound up winning this one. And the strange thing was Michelle McCool actually picked up a pin at the same time Eve was pinning. But the ref only saw Eve's pin, declared Eve the victor. So I don't know whether they're going to go with that. But technically Michelle McCool also picked up a victory at the end of that match and was not awarded the title. So they're probably going to go somewhere with that particular storyline. Then you have the match itself, the Rumble match. Now with 40 wrestlers, as opposed to the 30 wrestlers it's always been prior to last Sunday's match. The Rumble match itself, I'm going to give it 3.5, almost 4 stars out of 5. There were some very fun bits during the match, some interesting storytelling, but a lot of things that really confused me as well. Things kicked off with CM Punk at number 1, but before number 2 could be declared, the rest of his Nexus gang had to come out and defend Punk against the Core. They teased that these two factions would wind up feuding throughout the Rumble match, and one of the first confusing things about that, these two factions never wound up facing each other once they got into the Royal Rumble itself. They pretty much had all of Nexus coming out early in the going, and the rest of the Core was scattered throughout the match. They kind of came out late, and the Nexus and the Core never really faced off, so I'm not really sure why they had a brawl between the two factions if it never led to anything during the actual match, especially considering the members of each faction, every member, wound up in the Rumble, and that's obviously why they had to add 10 more spots this year to fit so many green rookies into the Rumble match itself. So number 2 was Daniel Bryan, and if you listen very closely, you could hear a faint Ring of Honor chant in the audience, which I thought was fantastic. So Punk and Bryan went at it, and the crowd definitely knew there was a little bit of a gift from the booking writing team there, allowing us to see two guys that Ring of Honor fans have wanted to see go at it for quite some time now. So they kind of ruled the roost for a little while. I'm just going to try to jump around in the Rumble match, talk a little bit about some of the other things that kind of confused me, some of the things that jumped out. Everybody's talking about John Morrison in this one. He pulled off probably the greatest spot in Royal Rumble history. Standing on the apron, he's about to be eliminated. I think it was William Regal that hit him off the side. I don't remember though. But Regal, or John Morrison, gets knocked off, and using that technique they keep playing up, that training thing that he does, he landed on the side of the barricade. His feet dug into the barricade, he grabbed himself on top of it, he climbed up on top of the barricade, walked across the barricade, and leaped back to the ring steps, therefore never touching the floor and not being eliminated. The crowd exploded for that bit, and the internet is abuzz over that. Just an incredible bit by John Morrison. Major props to him. Problem was, though, after that incredible bit, he did pretty much nothing in the rest of the match, and wound up being fodder to the Nexus, where they wound up running roughshod over most of the Royal Rumble competitors for a good chunk of time. So I'm not really sure why they would give Morrison such a huge bit. It kind of falls in the same category as Shelton Benjamin, who used to run in, do something amazing, and get thrown out within 3 minutes. Or Paul London, who took the worst bump in Royal Rumble history, but didn't have anything to show for it before or after. Excuse me. So yeah, the John Morrison thing was phenomenal. The booking of Nexus, they wound up basically playing up the fact that CM Punk was going to have bodyguards in this one, and he was going to try to go to the distance that way. Husky Harris came out. Man, Husky Harris, he is like Vader with less skills. He was just wildly punching people and kicking people. You could tell a lot of the other wrestlers were kind of uncomfortable around him. He doesn't really know how to pace himself And he doesn't work well with others, it looks like. So I'm kind of worried about his future in the WWE, because he looked very green in this one. But Husky Harris, Michael McGillicuddy, and Mason Ryan came out there for a while. They were basically, David Otunga, defending CM Punk at all costs. And at one point, they cleared out 4 members of the ring, including Mark Henry, and then cleared out the next 4 entrants one by one. It was actually a very impressive run by Nexus. I kind of liked the booking, but at the same time, it made wrestlers look like crap. There was, 4 consecutive wrestlers came out and were eliminated before the next guy could get in. So the elimination of Great Khali was kind of cool, where Khali actually eliminated one of the members of Nexus, but a Nexus member was the next guy to the ring, Mason Ryan. That guy is huge, and he took out Great Khali. So I kind of liked that booking there. But again, and then John Cena comes out and with his Hulk Hogan powers destroys 3 members of the Nexus and then eventually takes out CM Punk. And what I didn't understand about this is Cena winds up staying in the match almost through to the end. Why would you throw out the #1 entrant halfway through the match and basically erase any shot at somebody running for that record time in the match or running for the record number of eliminations if those 2 guys, or if the guy who's going to be throwing out Punk is going to be in the match anyway? Why not leave CM Punk in the ring longer? At least play up another storyline that they just seem to have abandoned since Rey Mysterio set the record. The storyline being, staying in the match the longest. I don't understand some of that booking there. But the rest of the match, they didn't really get to very many points where there was a lot of people in the ring either. The Booker T and Diesel sightings were huge. The crowd popped huge for Diesel's entrance. He came out and didn't really do anything, though. But the crowd was chanting, "Let's go, Diesel." They chanted his name when he got eliminated. But he didn't last very long. And lasting even less time was Booker T. He came out to a mild pop, did his 3 bits, the crowd went nuts, and he was tossed before the next entrant to get to the ring. So I don't really understand that one either. But yeah, there was Justin Gabriel. I don't know why they keep treating him like a one-trick pony. He was the first guy eliminated from the match, representing the core. They could have at least played up the Nexus versus core thing, but instead he was pretty much gone. And then you get down to the end. I thought the ending was fantastic. Alberto Del Rio floating around there. He came in late. Randy Orton was in the ring there. And The Miz eliminated John Cena late. The Miz was sitting ringside on commentary, supporting Alex Riley. Riley was eliminated as an afterthought, but Miz stuck around and eliminated John Cena. So they're going to obviously play up the Miz versus John Cena thing going forward, which tells me that Miz could very well wind up main eventing at Mania anyway, if John Cena winds up being his opponent. And so they did definitely set up that. They also, at the end there, so Del Rio winds up eliminating Randy Orton. The crowd reacts very negatively. They didn't want Del Rio to win, but I do think it was an excellent decision and kind of a surprise ending. And then out of nowhere, Santino Marella, who previously had been in 2 Royal Rumbles for a grand total of 27 seconds, had rolled out of the ring after coming in the late 30s. He rolled out of the ring, rolled back in with Del Rio with Del Rio's back to him, and did the Cobra to Del Rio, and the crowd went nuts. I couldn't believe how excited the crowd was at the possibility of Santino Marella pulling off the biggest Rumble upset in history. Michael Cole about came out of his shorts in this. And Marella went to throw Del Rio out. Del Rio rolled away and tossed Marella. And Del Rio, with a very exciting finish to the Rumble, I have to say, I did enjoy this Rumble match, especially more than I did last year's. Was kind of surprised that Triple H was not in this match. I kind of expected him to come back. I did like the inclusion of Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton in the Rumble. Despite them having previous matches, it made perfect sense for the 2 of them to be in this match trying to win, because obviously it's another opportunity to get back in the world title picture. So, those are some of the things that kind of stood out for me. There's certainly some other stuff that's not coming to my head right now, but overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars, I would say, for the 2011 Royal Rumble. So, stick around to this channel, because I'm going to be posting some more videos here tonight in regards to some of the wrestling DVDs I've been checking out lately. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the 2011 WWE Royal Rumble.